I think that realistically, someone who practices Vedic meditation is tackling head on what the real problems are and made of in an individual's life. Most real problems in an individual's life have to do with the way that overwhelming and stressful phenomena of the past have accumulated as distorted memories in the cells of the body, and which cause the person inappropriately to be constantly reacting as if those stressors are still here and present. And this is a great problem. People talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disease, or post-traumatic stress syndrome. I, for one, am convinced that almost the entire Western population is experiencing PTSD in varying degrees. Of course, there are degrees of it. But then, somebody who has been extremely overwhelmed by what most people would consider a relatively small series of changes of expectation, and somebody who has come back from a combat scenario in wartime, they both might be experiencing PTSD because we make judgments about what it is that is an appropriate level of stressor. The fact is, somebody whose physiology has been weakened by some kind of emotional change and is overwhelmed by that may be, in fact, on some neurochemical level, just as stressed as somebody who witnessed one of their partners being dismembered in combat, for example. So then, what is the real problem? The problem is stress accumulation. What is anybody doing about it? Most approaches to stress accumulation dance around the actual means whereby we can get rid of stress. In other words, we can talk about the ways in which we have had overwhelming experiences in our lives. We can look into them. We can analyze them. We can attempt to modify them. But if we have a physiological prejudice, our body is biased in the direction of stress reactivity, all we're really ever going to be doing is talking about the problem and attempting to cope with the existing problem. In Vedic meditation, as a result of regular practice of it, we attack the problem head on. We take the mind and the body into their least excited state. The body is able, in that state, highly rested state, to release and relieve existing stresses, and also to create further resilience to the accumulation of further stress due to overwhelming experiences that may occur in the future. And so not only are we removing stress layer by layer that it's existing, but also our inappropriate and irrelevant reactivity is being addressed. Now, I do not recommend that people consider Vedic meditation to be the one solution to everything. In fact, when you practice Vedic meditation, it may occur to you as your stress levels decline that you've been white-knuckling it on your own through a number of difficulties, that you could have enjoyed the participatory elements of other people, community, or different kinds of congregations of people who are working on a variety of problems, or in fact seek the help of a qualified professional. And this may be one of the realizations that comes from practicing Vedic meditation. So let me be very clear that, where people may say, oh, Thom thinks that Vedic meditation is a solution to everything, I only think so in regards of the idea that as a result of practicing Vedic meditation, you will on your own come to the conclusion that you don't need to do everything yourself. That, as your stress levels decline, then your sensitivity or concern about involving others therapeutically in your own evolution and development may also grow, and this is my hope. And so Vedic meditation, far from being something that avoids dealing with the problems, actually tackles the problem of stress accumulation head on. And in fact, as far as I can tell, is the only effective method that does so. And so this is one way of addressing this idea that somebody might have a misunderstanding of what Vedic meditation is about. There's no spiritual bypassing going on. What's happening is an awakening of your full inner potential, which will give you the gift of knowing how best to recover from overwhelming experiences of the past.